Today we're going to talk about box plots, normally called like a box and whisker plot. To do this, we're going to take our 5-number summary. That means our median, our Q1, our Q3, and also now including minimum and maximum values. What we're going to do in order to make it is first we're going to draw and label a scale representing the variable. Remember, the scale's got to go equal distance apart. Make sure that it's going by the same numbers, like 5s or by 10s or by 20s. Just as long as you do that, that'll be a good thing. You're going to draw a box over the scale with the left and right ends at Q1 and Q3, so you'll find those values. You're going to draw a vertical line through the box at the median, whatever that might be. It could be closer to Q1, it could be closer to Q3, it could be in the middle. So don't be surprised if your vertical line is kind of skewed. You're going to draw a left tail, which we call a whisker, to the minimum value, and we're going to draw a right tail from the box to the maximum. I can tell you right now, since we're used to doing median, Q1, and Q3, this should not be too difficult, just a visual representation of that data. Now, keep in mind, you will have to put numbers in order, so they won't always be in order. So when we look at this example right here, I have these 11 numbers. 5, 20, 30, 45, 60, 80, 100, 140, 150, 200, and 240. We have to find 5 things: median, Q1, Q3, minimum, and maximum. So for this sample, we have these numbers. The median is 80, that's right there in the middle. The Q1 is 30, that's the lower median. Q3 is 150, that's the higher median. The minimum is 5, that's the smallest number, and the maximum is 240. So what we want to do is to draw the box and whisker plot. Notice here, I have gone by tens for my sample, or for my thing at the bottom, okay? So you need to make sure that you go by the same distance. So you can go by 20s, you can go by 40s, doesn't matter, just as long as you're consistent. So let's look. We have our Q1 is at 30. So I'm going to draw a box right here. Our Q3 is at 150. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the box. Forgive me. It's hard to draw this. Sometimes the boxes are big, sometimes they're not. The median is at 80, so that's where I put this line right here. My minimum is at 5, so I'm going to put a whisker that goes to about 5. And then my maximum is at 240. And I'm going to do that. Now, obviously, when you're doing it on your paper, it'll be nice and neat in terms of the lines. But this is a box and whisker plot based upon this data. So remember, put everything in order. Find the median. Find the Q1, Q3, minimum and maximum. And it should be pretty easy to draw this. Now, you will also answer some questions occasionally based upon what you see there. So that is really important to make sure you pay attention to. Now, when we're doing box and whisker plots, sometimes we have to modify them depending on the data. And this is going to be something where you have to pay attention and look for any outliers there might be. A modified box plot is where you deal with the outliers and you kind of change the plot itself. It doesn't happen very often, but it is something you have to pay attention to. A modified box plot, in order to do so, you're going to draw the box as usual, because that's not going to change. It's just the whiskers, they may change. Once you've drawn the box part, you need to find the IQR, and you need to multiply it by 1.5. We're going to call it a step for right now, just so that way we can kind of distinguish it compared to everything else. This will tell us pretty much where all the data should be around. Anything past that, and you'll see when we're talking about it in just a second, is what we call outliers, because it seems too far away to make sense. Now, once you've found that step, we call the inner fences, our new whiskers, are going to be at Q1 minus the step or the number. Usually it's going to be a positive number no matter what, since we're talking about data. And you're going to have Q3 plus that. So you're going to kind of have your minimum and maximum bounds. That these are going to be where the whiskers go no matter what. This is what it kind of looks like. You have a Q1 and you have a Q3. You have your box, you have your median, The 1.5 times IQR, you'll subtract it from the Q1. So in this case, in order to get your lower fence, you're going to have that. That's where your whisker is going to go. Anything below that is a dot, or multiple dots depending. You'll do the same thing for the upper. You're going to do 1.5 times IQR, add that to Q3, that becomes your upper limit. Anything past that is also a dot. So it's possible you could have dots on both sides. It's possible you may not have any dots. If everything fits in there, you just draw a box and whisker plot the easy way. Now, make sure you're extending the whiskers from the box to the smallest and largest values that are within the fences. So if it's inside the fence, just go to where those minimum and maximums are. If there's something that goes outside, that's where you get those dots. Okay, so those ones are going to be our outliers. We'll talk more about what outliers represent as we go through this section, because it's really important to know which numbers don't seem to make sense. If you follow this, you should have no problems completing today's assignment. If you have any questions, make sure you email me or send me a message on Google Classroom, and I will be more than happy to answer.